discussed about results at metadata and what is the metadata. Okay, so metadata is nothing but data about data. That is what we have discussed in the last class, right? So, what is the metadata? Metadata is nothing but metadata. It is nothing but data about the data. Okay, data about the data. So you can see in a Java program, like you write the comments. Okay, so they represent the metadata. Also in Java program, when you write the annotations, so that as well it represents the metadata for every interface in JDBC API. Okay, when there is an implementation available, that implementation exists in the driver software. So those are nothing but metadata. Okay, so we also call that. So today our topic is about results at metadata, and let's discuss like what is the results at metadata. Okay, so results at metadata, it is nothing but an interface. So it implementations where it will be available, it implementation available in the driver software. Okay, a driver software will provide the implementation for the metadata, like for connection, for statement, for result set. So today we will see the prepaid statement and callable statement. For all these interfaces implementation, which software it is available in the driver software. Okay, so today our topic is about the result set metadata. Result set metadata. Yes. So what happens in the last session, we have already discussed like when you run a select query. So what we are getting the result set object, right? As you can see, I have explained in the result set how does it work. Okay, so result set. Now I would like to get the information about the columns, okay, which are selected and stored in the result set object. So, what information about the columns? Like, how many columns are there? Like, I have total 5 columns. Okay, and how many columns I have selected? I have, maybe I can select 2 or 3 columns like that. Okay, and what is the data type of that particular column? If I select this particular column, EMP number, then it is obviously a string data type. Okay, so that is nothing but the data type of those columns. If I select the salary or date, salary refers to the double data type and date refers to the double, like that. Okay, string. So what data type it is? So I have to be check like how many columns are there, totally 4 or 3 or 2 columns in a table. I have to select that, and what type of the data of those columns. These columns has which data type. I have to be find out integer or string or date or double. Okay, so like this we have discussed, and next is size of these columns. So EMP number, the size I have given maybe 5. Okay, so string 2, and double I have given the 3 size, and date 4. Like, okay, so the e name I have given the 20. Okay, so size work at 20, integer 5, employee number integer 5. So like that, the size I have given, and is that a nullable column or not? Okay, so these are the 4 topics. First topic is about our like how many columns are exist in the table. If I take the DPT table or the employee table or any product table, so how many columns are there? And second one is data type of the string or integer, and third one is size. Okay, like work at 20 string, and integer like 5. If it is a DPT number, then I have given 3, integer type 3, size is 3. Okay, so like that I have given, and fourth one is whether it is nullable or not. Okay, so we have to be focused on these 4 things, that we have to be write the program based on these 4 things. Okay, so I want to know the data which is stored in the result set result set object when you want to know the data in which object it is stored. Okay, so as we know in which object it will be stored, rs, here you can see rs dot get int. So it will be always stored in the result set object. So we need to be use which metadata object. So result set metadata provides the data about or information about the data which is stored in where, nothing but result set object. Okay, so whenever we run a query, okay, to select the data from the table. Okay, I'm selecting like I'm just whatever my query is, like a select star from emp, select star from dpt table. So whenever I run a query to select the data from the table, the result will be stored in which object, nothing but the result set object. So what you want to know, like you want to get some information about the data. Okay, so what are the data it is available in the table. So what information about the data, like how many columns are exist in the result set object. Okay, total how many columns are exist, 5. Suppose this is my table and how many columns are there in this 5. So like this. And what information about the data, like how many columns are exist and what type of column they are, whether it is an integer or a string or double. Okay, the size of the column, maybe the string is 20 and integer is 5. So if at all you want to know like such information, then what you have to do, you have to be use this object through which one, result set metadata object. So this is nothing but the result set metadata object. Okay, so you can able to get the information about like what is there in the result set object. Result set metadata provides the information about the result that is stored in the result set object. So whatever the in this SOP rs dot get int, so whatever the data stored, suppose EMP number or the size, whatever the data is stored in the result set object, that we will get it through by result set metadata. Okay, so let me just write it so it makes this clear understanding for us. Result set metadata is used to get, metadata is used to get the information about the columns, information about the columns which are stored in the result set object, which are result set object. Right. So understand, it's like a very easy point. I'm just writing the query for instance. I'm writing like this. Okay. Select. So let me just here. Okay. Select e name and salary. E name, salary, and let me just mention the date. Okay. Higher date. Date is nothing but the higher date. So date and what is another one? DPT. Department number. DPT number. Okay. So tell me in this result set object how many columns of the data will be stored? Two columns. Now your result set metadata will provide the information about the 5 columns or only 2 columns. So it will provide the data about this. So I have mentioned here how many, 4 columns. So it will give the 4 columns data, right? So if I mentioned only these two, select e-name and salary from the which table, EMP table, right? So it will give only 2 columns on the time. It will not give entire 5 columns of data. So why not 5 columns? Because from the result set object, 5 columns data selected or only 2 columns are selected from the table. So it will show the metadata of the those 2 columns. Okay, so my table may contain a 5 columns or 2 columns. it contains only two columns because I have given only this two columns name, so it will give the result of the two columns. Okay, in result set you selected like two columns. Okay, in the result set, so my result set as we have seen in the last program, so it gives only the two columns data. So here also it gives, instead of giving the entire thing, so it will give the what how many columns are selected in the result set object, so it will show that one. Hopefully you got the clarity about the result set metadata and result set metadata, right? So let me just write down here, changing the color. Okay, so result set metadata is an interface. Result set is an interface. Okay, so it implementation is available in which software? Driver software. Its implementation in driver software. Okay, so for the instances which provided in the JDBC API, that implementation exists in software software application or software driver. Okay, so let me just make this note clear. Interfaces provided in JDBC API. The implementation is available in which software? Driver software. Implementation available or exist in driver software or driver application. Anything is fine, right? Okay, so now how to get this result set metadata object? So we will write the code for this. Okay, if you want to write the result set metadata object, you will write a method. So that method name is, that method returns a metadata. Okay, and result set object. That method returns a metadata of that result set object. So that method name is, what is that method name? Get metadata. Okay, so that method name is get metadata. That method name is what? Get metadata. So it will help. What it will help? So we have to be write this method whenever when it returns the metadata. Okay, so the result set object, when we want to get this result set object about the columns, on that time we have to be called the get metadata method, right? So now tell me this. So what's the method name called to get metadata? So it's nothing but it's a method. Okay, to call that method, for example, let me take this one. Okay, my program wants to establish the connection with the database. So in the application, which method you need to call so that it get the connection with the database, which is nothing but get connection method. So we use on that time to establishing our connection, obviously we use the get connection method. To create this statement object in my application, which method I have to call? Nothing but create statement. Similarly, to create the result set, which method I have to call? Execute query. So you remember this, right? Execute query and execute update. We have already discussed one session for these two methods in our in previous class, right? So we have these two methods. To create the result set, we have to be called the execute query method. Okay. Similarly, the method we have to call for the create result set metadata, on that time we have to be use this method to create the result set metadata. Which method we have to call? Get metadata. So it is for result set metadata. Okay. suppose my result set object name is rs. Okay, so my result set name is rs. So what's the statement rs dot get metadata? If I want to call the get metadata method with result set object. Okay, so can you tell me like what's the statement you will write? Rs dot in get metadata I will write. Okay, so what it returns? Rs dot get metadata. So it returns the rs dot get metadata. It returns the rs dot get metadata method. Right. So result set metadata object. Okay, in the left hand side, what we have to be right, I need to be stored that object in the variable, one reference. Then what is the complete statement, like how to create the result set metadata object in my application? So let me write it here so you can get the clear understanding. So I'll write like this: result set metadata, result set metadata. First I have to be write the RHS, right? So no problem, as we already know. So let me write rs dot get metadata. So we have to be, whenever we have to be get the results at metadata object, we have to be call this method. Okay, so from this object, to extract some information, we have to be call some methods. For example, I want to know the number of columns in the table. When I'm selecting, select the star from any table or unknown table, let's say product table. Okay, it is convenient. So I don't know, like in the product table, how many columns are there. Okay, so I'm writing select a star from product table. How will I write? Select star from product table. Okay, product. I don't know how many columns are there. So all the columns are stored in the result set object. Okay. But how do I know like how many columns are there in the result set object? Through the metadata. Through the metadata, I can come to know like how many columns are there in this product table, because I don't know how many columns are there in this table. Through the result set object, I will come to know like how many columns are there in this product. Okay, through the metadata I can get the result. So which metadata I have to be used on that time? I have to be use result set. I have to be use result set metadata to get this by this object. Okay, what did I do? Yeah, so result set metadata I have to be used, because whenever when we create an object, we have to be get this metadata. Which metadata I have to use? Result set metadata I have to use. Now let's talk about these methods. Like first method, I get column count. It is a method. So what it returns? The number of columns that are stored in the result set object. So in this table, so I'm writing a program. So today we are writing a program. In that program, this is a EMP table, and like first I need to be find out. I don't know in this EMP table how many columns are there. Just assume it. Okay, so I have to be find out. First one is what? Otherwise, let me just write it. Okay, so what first thing I have to be find out, like um, get column count, and what is it return types, the number of columns that are stored in the result set object. To extract the information about the columns, so let me just write it. Information about the columns from the result set metadata. From the result set metadata object, we have to be called the below methods. Object Okay, so what is the first method? This doesn't look good. Okay, so first one is get column type name, get column type name, which is nothing but the column index. It's not sales. Okay. So what it returns? It returns the data type of the column in the result set object. It returns what it returns data type. Data type of the column. Data type of the column in result set object. And third one is like a size. I want to know the size of that column. So on the type, which method I have to be used? Get column display size. Get column display size method. So in this again the column index. It returns what it returns. It returns the size of that column. In result set object, right? And what is the third one? I want to get like whether it is a nullable or not. Is nullable. Same thing. Column index. What it returns? It returns say true or false. It return. It returns the true column. If the column allows null, otherwise, if the uh, returns true if the column allows the null, or else false, or else it returns false. Okay, so is, was, has, when they have, okay, any method starting with this kind of names, what it returns? A boolean value. It indicates the true or false. Suppose if the column is a nullable column, then it returns a true. Okay, if the column is not a nullable column, then it returns a false. If any columns, so we have already discussed, if any row of the data is available, then it is a true. It will the cursor move it to the next row. If anything not returns, if there is no row in the table, then obviously it returns the false. So same logic will applies here. If it is a nullable, then it returns the true, otherwise it returns the false. Okay, when you apply the primary key, okay, primary key column, it does not apply any duplicate key values. When you, okay, when you mention it is a primary key column, it does not apply any duplicate values. Okay, the column will not accept any null values. It will not accept any null values. Okay, the methods which starts with, okay, the methods which starts with the boolean value, like when it will be a true and when it will be a false. So if that column allows a null value, then it is a nullable column. So it returns a true. Otherwise, it returns a false. Right. So this is a simple logic that we have to be understand. So these four methods are enough to know like our to write a program in our Eclipse ID. So let me just open this Eclipse ID. So last time we have given the name for JDBC 04. Okay, so let me create the file, new, say Java project. Now I'll give JDBC 05. My project name is JDBC 05. Right. So every program we are creating like a separate Java project. You can keep all the programs in one JDBC project, or if you want to create a separate one, so you can also do that. Yes. So it is created JDBC 05. Here source model information I don't require, so let me just delete it. I have deleted this. That's all. Okay. Now at the time when we are writing a program, we will keep our programs in the different packages. What happen if we don't specify the package? Like what is the first statement writing in the Java program? Package, next import statements, next classes, right? Suppose you are not writing any package statement, what will happen? Your class will not be stored in any package. It will be stored in default package of the project. Suppose if you forgot in the future to mention the package name, it will always stored in the default package, right? Default package of the project. And when you are not writing the any statements, package statements, what will happen? Your class will not be stored in any package, it will be stored in the default package. And when you are not writing the import statement in your Java program, by default the java.lang.package will be imported every Java programs. Like, hope you got it. Like if you want any additional imports on the time, what you have to, you can add, you can add it, otherwise you can leave them. Like followed by after import statements, what will be the next one? Like a class, every Java program must contains at least one class. Okay, so do you agree that can I write a Java program without a class? I want to write a Java program, but I want to compile my Java program and run the program. But I don't want to create the class. So can we write a program without creating a class? Everybody will say that like without class we cannot write a program. But suppose if you started learning the Java in the beginning, it is no. The answer is no. Without class, you cannot write a program in the beginning stage. But you already have some exposure to the core Java. You have already knowledge. Now you're learning the advanced Java. So we cannot say no. It is possible without writing a class in Java. So we can compile the Java program, and we can write the program without writing a class. How? There is a concept in the Java called enum. Okay, instead of class, you can create the enum. By using the enum, you can compile and you can run the program. Now I will take a new class. Okay, so here, class. So what is this new class? It is nothing but the metadata. Okay, so my package name is obviously com dot Vanitha and yeah, and I will give the class name. As we are discussing the topic, same name I'll give metadata. If you want main method, you can just click that checkbox, otherwise no need. Here, control space. Okay, so what is the first step of writing the JDBC program? Which is nothing but a loading a class, and it is mandatory or optional? It is always optional. So second step is nothing but a establishing the connection. Okay, so which method we have to be called to get the connection? of which class? Driver manager, right? Which class? Driver manager. To make a connection, how many parameters I need to provide? Three parameters, which are nothing but database URL, username, and password. Suppose, let me just write here to establish the connection string database URL. I would have typed the previous, but let me just write it here so that we can understand it clear. So what? First, I have to be mention this JDBC colon Oracle colon at the rate thin colon at the rate localhost colon 1521 colon XC. Right. So why are you typing like a localhost here? So what is the purpose of the localhost? Because where is your database, in another machine or the same machine? When it is in the same machine, what you need to type, like only just localhost. Okay. If your database is in another machine, then what you will type? If your system is your system is one amongst the other in network, on that time, like what you will mention, IP address. So what we have to be type in place of localhost, on that time we have to be right in the place of at the rate localhost. We will mention the IP address of which machine, the machine where the database is installed. Okay, so we have to be mention the IP address of that wherever that our database is installed. So we have to be mention that IP address of that machine, right? So then why are you typing why I'm typing like this localhost? Suppose in our Windows machine or any machine. Okay, localhost is a name. Okay, which is mapped to the IP address. Okay, now tell me this. What is the IP address mapped with the localhost name? Like, what is the default IP address of any machine? Which is nothing but 127.0.0.1, 127.0.0, right? So that IP address is mapped with any name called by the host. So if you type the word localhost, it is converted to what? At the time of execution, it will be converted like 127.0.0.1. Okay, so this is the IP address of every local machine. Now, now what I will do here in my program, I want to try block. Okay, like yesterday I have told the connection will be open in the try block, try and block, try block. Okay, so but closed in which block? Finally, my connection will be open in try block, but closing where? Finally block. How to make this connection variable and accessible in try block or the finally block? To declare this variable outside of the try block, the about try block. So we have to be use this. So let me just write it here. Okay, string username first. String username, or just mention this uname also. It is nothing but system. And what is my password? String pwd. Just mention this pwd is also enough. Instead of writing entire thing, this is enough. Okay, so I'm writing this here. Connection con is equal to null. Connect. And what is the another one? Statement, right? This is not the Java beans. So you have to be very careful. Otherwise, it will show the error to us. Java.sql always. STMT. Okay. So now I'll write my try block. In try block, I will mention con. Con is equal to driver. Con. So my object is con driver manager dot get connection. Third one. Okay. So URL string username password. Here. So database username password. Right. So I have mentioned this. Now stmt object is equal to what it will returns con dot create statement. Here. Close with colon. Okay. Now what is my result set? RS. Result set object is RS. What it will so we have to be use the execute query method. stmt dot execute query. So what it will returns in this, so you can use either the two ways. You can just give the string query and type the query. Otherwise you can also mention result set object inside this query. So I will mention here select the star from emp. Right. In that try block I have mentioned like yesterday or day before yesterday when you are writing the programs. Okay, so first we are storing this in a string variable, then we are passing that variable. So that is a good way, but our query is a small. Okay, so we can do this. Now tell me how to create the result set metadata object. Like how can I get the number of columns in the result set object, number of columns with integer. So we have to be mentioned here. Now let me just mention this result set metadata here. Result set metadata. Okay, so result set metadata and what is the rsmd object is equal to what it will returns. It returns the rs dot. I told you know which method, rs dot get metadata. Rs dot get metadata. Right. So first, what is my first query? So I just want to get the columns, get columns count. Okay, on that time for that I'm writing int columns count is equal to columns count. I will mention columns count. Columns count is equal to what is the rsmd dot get column count method. Okay, I got it here. So what it will do, like what this method returns the number of columns in the result set object. For each column, I want to display the name of the column. Okay, data type of the column size and whether the column is nullable or not. For every column, it is displaying, and for that purpose, I need to be use loop. Okay, so that loop should repeat how many times? Example, if there is a five columns, okay, in my emp table I have five columns, then it should be repeat five times. Like how do you know like how many columns are there in the result set object? As we have discussed in the variable, what's that variable count will be. So variable, if the variable is 7, okay, if that variable name like do you know like how many times that column should repeat? If you have a column count variable is 7, okay, then it should repeat it 7 times. If it is a 5, then it should repeat it 5 times. Now I want to display 7 columns data. Like how do you know like how many columns are there? And like I have taken the product table, right? In that I don't know like how many columns are there on that time. I don't know. Like in the product table, maybe 6 columns are exist or the 7 columns. So on that time, which loop I prefer? I prefer to go with the for loop. Okay, so I don't know in the EMP table how many columns are there. So I'm using the for loop now. Okay, so let me just use this for loop and first int index, right? How much? What is the index? One. Nothing but one. And index less than or equal to how much? I don't know. So I'm mentioning columns count. I want to find out the columns count and index plus plus. Right. So what happens here? What should I display? The column numbers or it is a index? So on that time I have to be mentioned like columns name. Okay, so let me just mention the system.out.println. Here I will write column name. So first my query is the column name, column name, right. And the second one is nothing but the I just want to find out the okay. So I mentioned the 4 queries, right? In that four, first one is my column type name and the size. So let me just mention here column size. For that, how I will write rsmd dot, okay, rsmd dot get column name. First, I will rsmd dot or column type is first I have to be mentioned like column type, which data type it is. So I will just mention column type. Column type is equal to the data type name. Columns count only, right? Columns count data type name. So columns data type name. So here I just want to be printed. Now what I'm getting here error is I just want to give the space here. So let me do this later. First I will make this clear. Okay, column number, data type name and SYSO. System.out.println column number, column number, here space, column number is equal to index, right? Space I'll just mention here index. So now what is that third thing? I just want to get it like column name is done already. So I just want to get it print. Now column index and the column type. So for that I have to be mentioned here once again. Column type and column name. So these are the three things I just want to find out. Column name, and first one is a column name for system.out.println index. Index is already done. Otherwise, I'll just make this clear understanding. Column name, I'll just give this some space to make this clear understanding. So, which object I have to be used for the next column? Get column name. So, what is my object? rsmd dot get method. Okay, get column name. Get column name. Here it is. Get column name, and here obviously I will take it as an index. And the third one, what is the third one? Column name, column number, and column type. Okay, so column type, column type, column. Give some space for the clear understanding. Here rsmd dot. Okay, rsmd dot. Which one? Column type name. So column type name is column get column type name. Column name get column type. Control S, get column type name, second one. Okay, here also I'll select the index. Now how many this brackets? Only two. Column. Now what is the third thing? I just want to find out, so let me just make it maximize. Now it is better. Is system.out.println. And what is the third thing I want to get it type? Size. Name is done, type is done, size and nullable. So these are the four things I want to get it print. So column size. Third one is column size. Close and give some space for the better look. And what is my object? rsmd dot get column size. Okay, get column display size. Get column, here it is. Display size, third one. And obviously it is a index. Close the column. And fourth one, whether it is a nullable or not. Whether it is nullable or not. System.out.println. Okay, so what I want to find, whether it is a nullable or not. Nullable space. Okay, and here rsmd, which method is nullable method, is nullable method is, yeah, first one. Obviously here also index. Select this, and I'll just mention this line for our clear understanding. SYSO, like this I will mention. Okay, now so this is my end of the loop. You can see This is nothing but my end of the loop, for loop, end of the for loop. Done. So what I will do, so what it will do, it will separate. Okay, so it will separate this, this line is will get separate, and to make this our output will be more clear. So what is this result set metadata object is there now, add the result set. For that what we have to do, sorry, we have to be close it. How to do that, let me tell you. Okay, rs dot close, we have rs dot close, rs dot close. Let me just mention here in this. Yes, it is here. We have mentioned. Now I have to be use the catch block for this purpose. So let me just make this catch block. Catch. What it will do? SQL exceptions. Right, SQL exception EX. SQL except EX. So what it will returns? Print stack trace EX dot. Yes, it is here. Now, so now what happens? I have mentioned. Now I have to be use the finally block. So finally also we need to be try the block. Why we have to be use it the try block? So why do we have to use it to try block? Because when I'm calling the close method, it throws the SQL exception, right? So SQL exception is belongs to which category? It is belongs to the checked exception. Then what to handle it through by? I have to be handle it through by try and catch block, or you have to propagate it to the caller. Okay. When like when should we close the if statement as a null value? Can we close it? No, we cannot close on that time if it is a null value. Then the connection value is null. So can we close it if the connection value is null? No. So for that purpose, we have to be write it the finally block by using the try and catch. So let me just write it in my finally block. Okay, so let me just mention here of my finally block to give the more space. Finally block. In this finally block, I will write the try. In this try block, I will just mention the if statement not equal to null. If stmt not equal to null. So on that time, I'll just close the statement stmt dot, which is nothing but close method. So here it is, first one. Okay. Now, if the con not equal to null, on that time we have to be close the connection, which is nothing but con dot close. So let me just mention here to make this clear. Looks good. It looks good now. If con not equal to null, on that time what I will do, I'll close the connection. Okay. So how I will write con dot close this one. Okay. Now, for try again, I'm writing the, because I have used the try now. I'm again writing the catch SQL. I'm writing the catch here. Catch SQL exception. SQL exception ex dot print address. It is done now. Okay, so I have mentioned here all these things in the finally block. Again, for this try closing the connection, I have to be mentioned. Now I have to be run my program. So what I will do? Okay, so I missed somewhere. Let me just check this. If connection close and I think by default I have mentioned this. Catch also I have closed. Then okay, so here I have to be finally close, and then here it is. Yeah, now clear. Control S. What we have to do now? We have to be add our jar files. For that, we will go to the our project. What is this? JDBC 05 build path, configure build path, then class path. It is already added in the class path. So let me just apply and close. It is done. Now what I will do? So let me just run this. Run as Java application. Here. So select the star from EMP. How many columns are there? One, two, three, four, five. Five columns are there in my EMP table. So column number one. Okay, in the column number one, first column name is EMP number. Okay, so my column first one is EMP number, and what is the second one? Number. So type, what is the data type? Number. So if you want, you can just open this SQL and you can just cross verify if everything is clear now. Okay, so I have to begin. Oh, yeah. First one is EMP number, and it is a integer type. Second one is E name. It is a string. Workar 2. Yes, it is a workar 2, and size I have given 20, and here the size I have given number. EMP number I have given the size, and third one is third column is what? My third column is nothing but salary. So it is a double. So what it is showing? Salary, and it is a number again, and the size I have given 11. So is it nullable or not? It is not nullable because that column is exist. Okay, fourth one is higher date. So the type data type is date, and the column size I have given 7. Okay, so fifth column is department number, and the number type data type, and the size I have given 8. So it is not a nullable because the column is exist. Okay, so in this place, if I select only two columns, okay, instead of selecting all the columns, if I select like EMP number, a salary, and E name. Okay, first I will select EMP number and E name as well as salary from EMP table. From which table? EMP table. Okay, so I just want to get this three columns data instead of all the five columns. What I want to get to display EMP number and salary. Only these three. Higher date, department number I don't want. Okay, so in this, once again you have to be run as Java application. Okay, so I got the three columns data. First one is as it says EMP number, E name, and salary. Okay, it's gone. Let's just open and run this. So this is first one is what number, type is number, and column size is 9. Okay, second one is E name, varchar. Okay, data type is varchar, and column size is I given 20 characters I can write. Okay, third one is salary. So this is double. I given the number, size is 11. I given. So how many columns you want, you can mention here. That many columns. Okay, so now out of this, here you can see the our import statements. Okay, so import statements like how many classes are there and how many interfaces are there in this. First one, we have connection, driver manager, result set metadata, SQL exception, and statement, right? So out of the six import statements, how many classes and how many interfaces? Like we have two classes. Okay, so what are the two classes? First one is driver manager and SQL exceptions. So remaining four are nothing but interfaces. So how to add the jar? Once you go to the build path, if you run the directly, you will get the exception. So what exception? Like Oracle not found or no suitable driver found, you will get like that. Okay, so and how you will get this output, like how many columns if you mention, it will give like number, name, type, size. Okay, whether it is a nullable or not. So if it is a nullable, then it will give the true. If it is not nullable, then it will give the false. And the employee number is whether it will check, like how many columns we have mentioned, it will check. Like instead of writing the star, select the star, I'm writing like a EMP number, salary, and E name. So look at this my query. Okay, if you see this query, so I have mentioned the three columns: employee number, E name, and salary. So in my output, like so second column is nothing but the salary and employee number. Third one is employee number. So metadata of the table or the metadata of the result set, not the metadata of the table. So it is always result set. Okay, not the table. So metadata is always nothing but the result set. Okay, so metadata is rs dot next int. So which is nothing but the I'm not mentioning the table, so it is always the results set. So that's why uh, I changed the query. Results set metadata is not a class; it's an interface. So so far we can use the statement interface to execute our queries. Maybe insert, update, or delete query. Which interface we have used? Okay, so we have used a statement interface, right? So like all the statements in the JDBC, like we have two more types of statements. There are totally three types of statements. So we have today we have done this statement, right? Statement close dot statement. So another two are there. So those remaining two are like first one is prepared statement and callable statement. So we need to understand about like why should I use the prepared statement and why should I use the callable statement. So we will practice, you can practice this well. And we have to be discuss this in the coming session. Okay, so what are the types of statements in JDBC? Let me just write it here so it will be clear understanding for us in the next class. Types of statements in JDBC. How many? Three. So what is the first one is nothing but the statement, and second one is prepared statement, and third one is callable statement, right? So these are the things that we have discussed in our today class. Let's see the tomorrow session remaining part. Thank you all.